In the far reaches of the galaxy, Earth was nothing more than a story, a myth, a tale told by ancient civilizations long forgotten. It was a planet lost to time, its name whispered only in the old legends of distant stars. The galaxy's greatest minds laughed at the very thought of Earth. After all, no one had seen it, no one had heard from it in centuries. It was just a fable, like the lost cities of the past, or the creatures that were said to roam the dark side of the moons. The galaxy was vast, filled with countless worlds and species. Many were advanced beyond measure. Their ships could travel across light years in the blink of an eye. They had built empires that stretched to the stars. They had mastered technology that made Earth's ancient creations look like toys. To them, the story of Earth was a footnote in history, something to be laughed at during quiet nights in the council chambers. On one such night, a small group of explorers aboard the ship Argonaut made a discovery. The ship was far from the core worlds, traveling through the deep, forgotten parts of the galaxy. Their mission was simple: survey uncharted space, record any anomalies, and report back. The crew had no reason to expect anything unusual, but that changed when they picked up a strange signal. The signal was faint, but unmistakable. It wasn't from any known species, nor was it from any known technology. It was a set of numbers, repeating over and over. Coordinates. And the pattern, it wasn't random. The crew was intrigued but skeptical. They had encountered signals like this before, glitches in space or cosmic radiation. But this was different. The pattern seemed deliberate. Someone or something was sending a message. Captain Kira Darnell, a veteran of deep space exploration, sat at the command console staring at the data. The coordinates, they were too familiar. She frowned, tapping her fingers on the desk. "Are you sure about this?" she asked her chief technician, an alien named Jor, who had spent years working with advanced technology. "It's real, Captain," Jor replied. "This is no glitch. It's coming from somewhere, and it's directing us to Earth." The name hit her like a wave. Earth, the ancient myth. The place that everyone in the galaxy believed was long gone. It couldn't be true. Earth was just a story. But the coordinates were clear. The message was clear. She had to know more. "Prepare the ship," Captain Darnell ordered. "Set course for Earth." The crew had no idea what they were heading into. They had no idea that they were about to uncover a secret that would shake the galaxy to its core. As the Argonaut traveled deeper into uncharted space, the signal grew stronger. It was as if someone was guiding them. The journey wasn't easy. They encountered strange cosmic storms, vast asteroid fields, and strange, unexplainable phenomena. Yet the signal kept pulling them forward. The crew was nervous but determined. What if Earth was real? What if the legends were true? The thought of discovering a lost planet, a place that had been forgotten by the galaxy for centuries, was both exciting and terrifying. But doubts lingered. Could Earth really be the place the myths spoke of? The crew had their doubts, but as they traveled deeper, those doubts began to fade. Something about the journey felt important. They could feel it in their bones. Days passed, then weeks. The signal led them to a remote part of space, far from any known star systems. No one had ever traveled this far. The sensors began to pick up strange readings. It wasn't just the signal anymore. There was something out there. Something large. Something human. The crew was on edge. They had come this far, but now they had to face the truth. What if the legends were wrong? What if this was all just a trick of the stars? What if they were about to discover something dangerous, something that should have stayed lost? Then it happened. As they neared the coordinates, the Argonaut systems began to glitch. The lights flickered, the ship's engines sputtered, and the once clear signal began to distort. It was as though they were being pulled into something. Captain Darnell gripped the arm of her seat as the ship shook violently. The crew scrambled to keep control. "What's happening?" Jor shouted. The answer came too late. The Argonaut was surrounded by a strange, dark cloud of energy, pulling them in like a vortex. Then, as suddenly as it began, everything went quiet. The crew looked out into space. What they saw wasn't what they expected. The star system before them was different. It was ancient, forgotten. But there, hanging in the dark space, was a planet. It was blue. It was green. It was Earth. The crew stared in disbelief. The planet was real. Earth wasn't a myth. It was alive, and they had found it. Captain Darnell stood at the view screen, her heart racing. This is Earth," she whispered. But why was Earth hiding in the farthest reaches of the galaxy? Why had it been lost for so long? What secrets did it hold? The crew didn't know the answers yet, but one thing was clear: their lives, and the fate of the entire galaxy, were about to change forever. The crew aboard the Argonaut stared at Earth through their ship's view screen in disbelief. The planet was real. It was blue and green, with clouds swirling gently above its surface. For so long, Earth had been nothing but a fairy tale, a myth from ancient stories. Now it was staring back at them, alive and vibrant. Captain Kira Darnell stood silently, her hands gripping the command console. Her mind raced, trying to make sense of what was happening. "This can't be real," she muttered to herself. "We found Earth. But why? Why has it been hidden for so long?" Jor, the ship's technician who had spent years studying alien technology, approached the captain cautiously. "Captain, the signal. It's still here. It's coming from the planet. We need to investigate." Kira nodded. "Prepare a team. We need to get down there." The Argonaut's crew quickly made preparations to land. As they approached the planet, they could see large, sprawling cities in some regions, while others were covered by dense forests and mountains. There was no sign of anything unusual, just an ordinary, beautiful world. Yet, the crew couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Earth had been lost to the galaxy for so long. What had happened to it? Why had it remained hidden? As the Argonaut descended through the atmosphere, the planet's surface grew clearer. The ship touched down softly in a small clearing surrounded by tall trees. The crew stepped out onto the soil of Earth for the first time in centuries. It was a strange feeling, as if they were walking on a forgotten dream. The air smelled fresh, filled with the scent of nature. Birds flew overhead, and distant rivers could be heard flowing. But everything felt strange. Chur scanned the area. There's no sign of life, not a single soul in sight. The captain frowned. Why would a planet this advanced be empty? We've been given coordinates to land here, but where is everyone? Before anyone could answer, a low hum echoed from the Argonaut's communication system. It was a transmission coming through loud and clear. The crew rushed back to the ship, where Jor quickly connected the signal to the main console. The message that came through wasn't what they expected. It wasn't a greeting or a welcome. It was a warning. "Prepare yourselves," the voice crackled through the speakers. "Humanity is returning. The galaxy will not be ready for what comes next." The voice was robotic, cold, and emotionless. There was no identity behind it. It was as though the message was sent by something or someone watching from a distance. A pause followed before the message continued. "Earth's fleet is on the move. All who oppose will fall. The galaxy will bow." The transmission ended with a harsh, static noise. The crew exchanged nervous glances. No one spoke. The voice, whoever or whatever it was clear. Earth was no longer a myth, and its return was not going to be peaceful. Did anyone else hear that?" Jor asked, his voice shaking. Captain Darnell's heart pounded. "I heard it. I don't understand it, but I heard it." She turned to the rest of the crew. "We need to get back to the ship. Now." The crew quickly boarded the Argonaut and ascended back into the sky. As they left Earth's atmosphere, they could see something that sent a chill down their spines. A small, faint fleet was forming near the edge of the planet's orbit. It was growing larger with each passing moment. The ships weren't from any known civilization. They were human ships. "Captain, are we sure we're not seeing things?" Jor asked, his voice full of disbelief. Kira's hands tightened on the ship's controls. "No, they're real, and they're not here to welcome us." As the fleet moved closer, the Argonaut's sensors picked up something even more disturbing. The ships were not moving randomly. They were advancing with purpose, as though they had a plan. The ships were old, but their power was undeniable. They were Earth's ships, and they were heading toward the galaxy. "Captain, we've been given a warning. A fleet like this, we can't face them alone," Jor said, his voice heavy with fear. Kira stared at the approaching ships, feeling a wave of dread wash over her. She had never faced anything like this. The fleet wasn't just a collection of ships. It was an army. An army from a planet thought lost to time. An army of humans. "We need to get this information back to the galaxy," Kira said, her voice firm. "We can't keep this to ourselves. If Earth has returned, if these ships are truly from Earth, the galaxy needs to be ready." But as she spoke, the fleet grew closer, and the crew knew they didn't have much time. The humans were coming, and the galaxy was about to be thrown into chaos. The crew aboard the Argonauts sat in stunned silence as they watched the growing fleet of human ships. The message had been clear. Earth was not only real, but its people were preparing to return to the galaxy, and the galaxy was unprepared. No one knew what to do. Captain Kira Darnell stood in front of the command console, staring at the large view screen. Her thoughts raced. She had never been a part of anything like this. Earth had been a myth, a story told by old civilizations. Yet now, humanity's fleet was here. And they weren't coming in peace. They were coming to conquer. "What are we supposed to do now?" Jor asked from his seat. He had been studying the data for hours, but it all seemed impossible. How could Earth have been hiding for so long? And how could these ships be so powerful? "I don't know," Kira replied, her voice low. "But we need to find out more. Earth's fleet is preparing for something big. And I have a feeling they're not just coming for us. They're coming for the whole galaxy." The crew worked quickly, analyzing every bit of data they had collected. They studied the ships in the fleet, their movement patterns, their energy readings. Everything about them was strange. They were old, but incredibly advanced. Whoever had built them, it wasn't the Earth the galaxy remembered. Something had changed. Days passed and the fleet drew closer. Kira felt the pressure mounting. She needed answers. What was Earth's plan? Why had they remained hidden for so long? The myths about Earth, the old stories of a powerful civilization, began to come to life. It was clear now, the legends hadn't been exaggerated. Humans were warriors, fierce, unstoppable. But the galaxy was unprepared for this. "We need to contact the galaxy's leaders," Kira said, turning to her crew. "We can't keep this to ourselves. If Earth is back, we need to warn them. The galaxy needs to understand the threat we're facing." But as the Argonaut tried to send out a transmission, something unexpected happened. The ship's systems went dark. The screens blinked, and the comm system went dead. The crew scrambled to fix the problem, but it was clear the Argonaut was being blocked. "Someone's jamming our signals," Jor said, his voice filled with frustration. "It's coming from Earth's fleet. They don't want us to warn anyone." Kira clenched her fists. "They're trying to silence us, but we can't stop now. We have to get to the truth. We have to find out why they're doing this." The Argonaut continued its journey, its course set for the center of the human fleet. As they neared, the sheer size of the fleet became overwhelming. Hundreds, thousands of ships, each one built for war. Each one carrying a message of power. The humans were not here to ask for peace. They were here to claim their place in the galaxy. Kira's mind was racing. She remembered the stories she had heard as a child, stories of human warriors, fierce and unyielding. There had been legends of Earth's warriors who could defeat entire armies with their skill and strength. But those stories were ancient. No one had believed them. No one had thought Earth was still out there. As the Argonaut approached the fleet, the comm system crackled to life again. This time, the message was different. It wasn't a warning. It was a command. "This is Commander Darien of the Earth Fleet," a voice said. "You are in our space. You have been warned. Leave now or face the consequences." Kira's heart raced. Earth had its own fleet, led by someone named Commander Darien. But what was the real purpose of Earth's return? Why had they waited so long? And why were they so determined to take control of the galaxy? "We need to land," Kira said, turning to her crew. "We need to speak with them. We can't keep hiding from the truth. We need answers." The crew agreed, and the Argonaut began its descent toward one of the human warships. The closer they got, the more the crew could see the power of Earth's fleet. These weren't the peaceful explorers the galaxy had expected. These were soldiers, warriors with a history of fighting and conquering. As the Argonaut landed, the crew gathered in the ship's landing bay, preparing to meet the humans. The doors opened, and there, standing in front of them, was a human soldier. He was tall, his face hard and cold. His uniform was unlike anything the crew had ever seen, dark, armored, and imposing. "You're from Earth?" Kira asked, trying to mask the shock in her voice. The soldier nodded. "I am Commander Darien. You were warned to leave. But now that you're here, you will understand. Earth has returned, and we are not here for peace. We are here to take what is ours." The crew stood frozen, the weight of his words sinking in. Earth wasn't just coming back to claim its place, it was coming back to take control. The galaxy had underestimated humanity for centuries, and now the truth was clear. The myths were true, and Earth was ready to reclaim its power. Kira's mind raced. Earth's return wasn't a simple mission of survival or exploration. It was an invasion. And the galaxy wasn't ready for what was coming. Commander Darien's cold, hard eyes watched Captain Kira Darnell as she stepped off the Argonaut and onto the surface of his massive warship. The crew of the Argonaut was tense, their hands hovering near their weapons, unsure of what was to come. The situation had changed. Earth was not just back, it was ready to conquer. Kira could feel the weight of that truth pressing down on her shoulders. They weren't here for peace. "You were warned," Darien said again, his voice like ice. "But now that you're here, you'll see the power of Earth's fleet." Kira stood tall, trying to show confidence even though her heart was racing. "Why?" she asked, her voice firm. "Why didn't you return sooner? Why hide for so long?" Darien's gaze hardened. Earth was not ready. We had to wait. The galaxy grew too powerful, too advanced. But now we are stronger, and the time has come for Earth to reclaim its place. Kira felt a chill run through her. She had heard the stories, but she hadn't expected this. Earth was not the peaceful, isolated planet it had once been. It had become something darker, something more dangerous. And now it was ready to take control of the galaxy. "Why did you contact us?" Kira asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "Why reach out to us with that warning?" Darien looked at her, and for a moment his expression softened. "You were close. Too close to the truth. Earth's return cannot be stopped. But we were willing to let you go. You could have left and told no one. But you didn't." Kira clenched her fists. She could feel the tension in the air. "What happens now?" Darien sighed as if weighing something heavy in his mind. "I don't want war, Captain. I never did. But the galaxy does not understand what Earth has become. I can't let you leave without you knowing the truth. You'll understand why we must do this." Kira's heart skipped a beat. "What truth?" Darien motioned for them to follow him. "Come with me. I'll show you." The crew of the Argonaut followed Darien down a long, metallic corridor aboard his warship. The ship felt alive with energy, humming with the power of thousands of advanced systems. Kira could sense the might of the fleet surrounding them, the power that Earth now controlled. They arrived at a large, circular room. In the center was a massive holographic display. Darien stood before it, and with a flick of his wrist, the image came to life. It showed Earth, huge, blue, and green. But as Kira watched, the image zoomed out, revealing a dark web of networks, lines, and connections. This is Earth's true power, Darien said, his voice low. For years, our people have been scattered and lost. But we have spent decades building something far beyond what the galaxy can imagine. Kira's eyes widened. She had always thought of Earth as a planet of peace. But this was something else. We have developed technologies that the galaxy can't even begin to understand, Darien continued. We can control entire systems, reshape planets, and manipulate energy on a scale you can't imagine. Sure, the Argonaut's technician stepped forward, his curiosity overwhelming his fear. You're saying that Earth has been hiding its technology from the rest of the galaxy? Darien nodded. Yes. We had no choice. The galaxy wasn't ready for what we built. The power we possess would have been used against us. But now, we can't remain in the shadows anymore. We've returned to claim our place. Kira took a deep breath, trying to process what Darien had just revealed. Earth had evolved into something far more powerful than any of the galaxy's civilizations. This wasn't just about war, it was about control, about reshaping the entire galaxy according to Earth's will. But why now? Kira asked. Why are you coming out of hiding now? Why not wait longer? Darien's face darkened. Because the galaxy has pushed too far. The power, the greed, it's destroying the balance. We cannot sit by and watch any longer. If we do not act now, the galaxy will destroy itself, and Earth's legacy will be lost forever. Kira was silent, her mind racing. Could it be true? Was Earth's return really about saving the galaxy? Or was it just a cover for a more sinister plan? You talk about balance, but Earth's return could throw everything into chaos. Kira said slowly, you can't force the galaxy to accept your vision. It won't work. Darien's eyes narrowed. Then what would you suggest? Let the galaxy continue to grow out of control? We have the power to end this madness. We can bring peace, stability, under Earth's rule. The words hung in the air. Kira knew there was more at stake than she had ever imagined. Earth wasn't just coming to reclaim a lost planet. It was coming to reshape the entire galaxy. But as the silence stretched between them, Kira had a thought. Perhaps this wasn't a battle they needed to fight with force. Perhaps there was another way, an unlikely alliance. Commander Darien, Kira said, her voice steady, we don't have to fight. There's another way. What if we work together? We may not agree on everything, but we can find a way to make this work. We can keep the peace without forcing control. Darien stared at her, his expression unreadable. For a long moment, he said nothing. Finally, he spoke. Maybe you're right. Maybe there is a way. But know this, Captain. Time is running out. The galaxy is teetering on the edge. We don't have much time to fix it. Kira nodded, feeling the weight of the situation press down on her. This wasn't just about Earth's return. It was about the future of the entire galaxy. And an unlikely alliance might be the only way to save it. The tension on the warship was thick. The crew of the Argonaut had just witnessed a side of Earth they never thought possible. An Earth that was not a peaceful, isolated planet, but a power that could change the galaxy. Now, Captain Kira Darnell was faced with a decision that could alter the fate of the entire galaxy. Could she trust Commander Darien and the humans who now stood at the galaxy's doorstep? Captain, are you sure about this? Jor's voice was shaky as he approached Kira. The crew was still reeling from what they had learned. Earth's technology, its power, it was all too much to process. Kira stood looking out of the warship's observation window, her mind racing. Below her, Earth looked peaceful, yet she knew the truth. The fleet was just waiting for the right moment, waiting to strike. I don't know if I'm sure, Kira replied, her voice soft but firm. But what I do know is this. We need to stop the galaxy from falling apart. If we can convince Darien and the others to work with us, we might have a chance. Jor shook his head. But can we trust them? They've been hiding their power for so long. Now they just expect us to fall in line. Kira turned to him, her eyes steady. We don't have many options. If Earth really wants to bring balance to the galaxy, maybe we can help. But we have to do it together. We need to get the leaders of the galaxy to agree to this plan, and they won't listen unless we can show them that Earth isn't here to destroy everything. The Argonaut's crew had spent the past few days studying Earth's fleet. The ships were formidable, capable of wiping out entire fleets in seconds. But as powerful as they were, Kira couldn't help but wonder if Darien was telling the truth. Did Earth really want peace? Or was this all part of a grand plan to control the galaxy? The next day, Kira met with Darien again. The room was dark, lit only by the glow of the holographic maps and data streams. Darien stood at the center, his posture rigid, his eyes hard. "I've thought about what you said, Captain," he said, his voice calm but stern. "And I'm willing to try. But we need to move quickly. If we wait too long, the galaxy will destroy itself." Kira nodded, though she wasn't entirely convinced. She knew Darien was under pressure. His people had been waiting for this moment for generations. They wouldn't back down easily. "We can work together," Kira said. "But we need to convince the other leaders. We need their support." Darien's eyes flickered with a hint of doubt. "They will never accept Earth's dominance. We don't have time for their politics." "They don't need to accept dominance," Kira replied. "But they need to understand that if we don't act, the galaxy will tear itself apart. You're right about one thing, balance is crucial. But we don't need to force that balance. We can create it together with everyone's input." Darien studied her for a long moment, then finally nodded. "I will make the call." "But you're asking for a fragile peace, a peace that could break at any moment." Kira's heart skipped a beat. She knew the risks. This peace was fragile, like glass on the edge of breaking. But it was their only option. The next few hours were a blur of communication and meetings. Kira and Darien worked together to send a message across the galaxy. They would meet with the leaders of the galaxy's major powers, those who had once feared Earth's return. If they could convince them that Earth wasn't just a threat, but a potential ally, they might have a chance. The day of the meeting arrived. The Argonaut and Earth's fleet arrived at the neutral space station, where the galaxy's leaders gathered. Kira stood in the briefing room, her nerves on edge. She had to make this work. The future of the galaxy rested on her shoulders. When the meeting began, Kira addressed the room. "The rumors about Earth's return have been true," she began, her voice steady but urgent. "Earth is back. But what you don't know is that Earth doesn't want war. We want peace. We want to bring balance to the galaxy." The leaders of the galaxy's powers exchanged skeptical looks. Many of them were old, hardened diplomats who had seen too much war to believe in peace so easily. "Balance?" One leader scoffed. "How can you possibly bring balance when you've hidden your power for centuries?" Kira took a deep breath. Earth's return is not about control. It's about stopping the chaos. The galaxy is spiraling out of control. There are forces at work that threaten us all. We cannot wait any longer. Darien stepped forward, his voice cutting through the tension. "Earth has seen the future. We know what's coming. If we do nothing, the galaxy will destroy itself. But if we work together, we can change that. Together, we can restore balance." The room fell silent as the leaders processed his words. It wasn't a promise of peace. It was a warning. A warning that the galaxy's time was running out. For a long moment, the silence was unbearable. Finally, one of the leaders, a tall alien with blue skin, spoke. "We have no choice but to trust you for now. But know this, if you break your word, we will not hesitate to fight." Kira nodded, relieved but wary. "We understand. We have no interest in ruling the galaxy. We only want to protect it." The leaders agreed to a temporary peace, a fragile alliance that would hold as long as Earth kept its word. But Kira knew this peace was only the beginning. It could fall apart at any moment. The galaxy's future was uncertain, and the path forward was treacherous. But for now, the peace held. As the meeting ended, Kira and Darien exchanged a glance. The peace was fragile, but it was their best chance. Earth's return was the beginning of something new, but what that would become, only time would tell. The peace that had been forged between Earth and the galaxy's leaders was fragile. Even as the Argonaut and Earth's fleet moved through space, Kira Darnell couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking on a razor's edge. One wrong move, one misstep, and everything could fall apart. Days passed, and the tension in the galaxy continued to rise. The leaders had agreed to work together, but trust was not easily earned. Some still feared Earth's return, and others only tolerated it because they had no choice. Kira knew that if Earth's fleet ever gave an order to strike, it would be all too easy for their fragile peace to shatter. "I don't like this," Jor said one night as he sat in the command room with Kira. "I don't trust that everyone is on our side. Some of these leaders have their own agendas. What if they're just waiting for the right moment to turn on us?" Kira sighed, rubbing her temples. "I know, but we have to hold on. We can't let the fear of betrayal control us. The galaxy is in chaos, and we're trying to hold it together." As the days passed, Kira and her crew continued to monitor the situation. They kept in close contact with Earth's fleet, coordinating efforts to rebuild broken alliances and stabilize key areas of the galaxy. But the pressure was building. It wasn't just the leaders who were uneasy, it was the people. Whispers of rebellion, of plans to overthrow Earth's presence, began to spread like wildfire. Kira couldn't ignore the growing tension, but she tried to remain focused on the mission. There was too much at stake for her to lose hope now. One evening, a distress signal came in. It was from the neutral space station where the galaxy's leaders had gathered for the peace talks. Kira's heart raced as she read the message. It was a call for help. "We need to go," Kira said urgently, standing up from her chair. "Something's happening at the station." The Argonaut quickly changed course, heading toward the station at full speed. As they neared, Kira could see the chaos unfolding. Ships were exploding in the distance, and alarms blared on the station. It was a full-scale attack. "Captain, we're picking up strange signals," Jor said, his voice tense. "These ships, that are not Earth's. They're from one of the galaxy's other factions. Someone's attacking the peace talks." Kira's stomach sank. She had hoped the peace would hold, but now it was clear. Betrayal had come from within. Someone in the galaxy's leadership had decided to end this alliance before it even had a chance to succeed. "We need to get to the station and find out who's behind this," Kira ordered. "Prepare the crew. We're going in." The Argonaut approached the station, its landing bay opening to allow them to dock. Kira and her team donned their combat suits and prepared for whatever they might face. As they boarded the station, the scene was one of complete chaos. Crew members and leaders of the galaxy's factions were running through the corridors, trying to escape the violence. "Stay alert," Kira said, her voice calm despite the tension. "We don't know who we're dealing with." They made their way through the station, following the trail of destruction. It wasn't long before they found what they were looking for: a group of armed rebels, led by someone wearing the insignia of a high-ranking official from one of the galaxy's major powers. "Hold your fire," Kira ordered. "We're here to help." "What happened?" The rebel leader, a tall alien with green skin, sneered at her. "Help. You're part of the problem, Captain. Earth has no right to dominate the galaxy. We are trying to take back control." Kira's mind raced. It wasn't just an attack on Earth's fleet. It was an attack on the entire peace process. These rebels were determined to prevent any cooperation between Earth and the galaxy. But what bothered her most was the leader's insignia. It was one she had seen before. A leader from the United Federation of the Outer Rim had supported Earth's return, claiming to help keep the peace. But now, one of their high-ranking officials was behind the attack. "You've been betrayed," Kira said, her voice growing more urgent. "This attack wasn't planned by Earth. It was one of your own people. Someone within your own faction wants to end the peace talks." The rebel leader's face twisted with anger. "Don't blame us for your failures, Captain. Earth has no place in the galaxy, and we'll fight to prove it." Just then, a voice came over the intercom. "Captain Darnell, we found something you need to see." Kira turned, signaling for her team to follow her. They made their way to the control room. where the crew had intercepted encrypted messages. The messages revealed something shocking. The attack on the space station had been orchestrated by a powerful faction within the United Federation of the Outer Rim. The same faction that had supported the peace talks. The same faction that had wanted Earth to join the galaxy. "They've been playing both sides," Kira muttered. "They want to start a war. They want to use the peace talks as a way to gain more power." Chor looked at her, his face grim. So this wasn't just a random attack. This was carefully planned. "Exactly," Kira replied, her mind racing. "Someone's been manipulating the entire situation. And now the peace we worked so hard for is on the brink of collapsing." Kira felt a knot tighten in her stomach. The betrayal was deeper than she could have imagined. And now she had to find a way to stop it before the galaxy was thrown into another war. The galaxy was on the brink of war. The fragile peace that Earth had fought so hard to create was crumbling. Kira Darnell knew that time was running out. The betrayal from within the United Federation of the Outer Rim had thrown everything into chaos. And now she had to stop it, before it was too late. "We need to move fast," Kira said, her voice tense as she stood in the Argonaut's command room. "We know who's behind the attack on the space station. It's the Federation. They want to prevent Earth from claiming a position of power in the galaxy." Jor nodded grimly. "But they're not just attacking Earth. They're trying to start a war between all the galaxy's factions. If we don't stop them, there won't be anything left to save." Kira felt the weight of the situation press down on her. She had worked so hard to bring the galaxy's factions together, to show them that Earth was not an enemy. Now all of that was in danger of falling apart. "We're going to take the fight to them," Kira said. "We're going to find the leaders of this conspiracy and put an end to it, once and for all." The Argonaut and Earth's fleet were already preparing for a final confrontation. The Federation's forces were scattered across several key systems, trying to rally support for their cause. Kira knew she had to move quickly before the situation got any worse. "Captain, we've located their main base," Jor said. "It's in a remote system on the edge of Federation space. We can reach it in a few hours." Kira took a deep breath. "Prepare the crew. We leave now." As the Argonaut and Earth's fleet jumped into faster-than-light travel, the tension among the crew was palpable. This wasn't just another mission. This was the fight for the future of the galaxy. Kira knew that if they failed, everything they had worked for would be lost. The fleet arrived in the Federation system just as the sun was setting on the distant planet below. The base was heavily fortified, surrounded by fleets of Federation ships. The time for diplomacy was over. Now it was all about survival. "We've got one shot at this," Kira said, addressing her crew. "We infiltrate the base, find the leaders behind this betrayal, and end this once and for all. No more talking. No more waiting." The Argonaut descended toward the base, its engines glowing as it cut through the atmosphere. As they landed, Kira led her team through the winding corridors of the base, her mind focused and clear. She had come too far to fail now. The further they went, the more they realized the scale of the conspiracy. The Federation's high-ranking officials had been preparing for this moment for years. They had been secretly building up an army, a fleet of ships that could take on the entire galaxy if needed. But Kira knew that the Federation's true strength wasn't just in its military. It was in its influence. If they could rally enough factions to their cause, they could tear the galaxy apart. "We're close," Kira said as they approached the central command room. "Stay sharp." They burst into the command room, where the leaders of the Federation were gathered. The moment they entered, the room fell silent. Kira Darnell, one of the leaders, sneered, his voice cold and calculating. "We were wondering when you'd show up. Did you think your peace was ever going to last? You're weak. Earth is weak." Kira's eyes narrowed. It wasn't about Earth's strength. It was about bringing balance, but you couldn't stand it. You wanted to keep the galaxy in chaos, so you could control it. The leader smirked. "Control? No. We simply want what's ours. You Earthlings have no idea what you're dealing with. This galaxy doesn't want peace. It wants power. Kira took a step forward, her voice steady. You're wrong. This galaxy is tired of war, tired of conflict, and we're not going to let you destroy everything we've worked for. The leader's eyes narrowed as he motioned to his soldiers. Then you'll die like the rest of them. At that moment, the battle began. Soldiers rushed toward Kira and her crew, but they were ready. Earth's fleet had already engaged the Federation ships in orbit, and the Argonaut was leading the charge. Explosions rocked the base as the battle intensified. Kira fought with all the strength she had. Her team held their ground, pushing through the Federation soldiers as they advanced toward the control room. The leader's smug expression remained unchanged as he watched the chaos unfold. You think you can stop this? He taunted. We've already won. The galaxy will never accept Earth's rule. Kira reached the control panel and began inputting commands, her fingers moving with precision. She knew this was their only chance to stop the Federation's plans. This ends now, she said as she initiated a shutdown of the base's main systems. The lights flickered and alarms began blaring. The Federation's control was slipping away. As the leader lunged at Kira, she turned, knocking him to the ground with a quick move. You've lost. It's over. The leader struggled, his face twisted with rage. You think this is over? This is only the beginning. We will rise again. But Kira stood tall, knowing that the Federation's power had been broken. The galaxy was no longer at the mercy of those who sought to tear it apart. Earth had shown them that peace was possible if they were willing to fight for it. With the Federation's control shattered, the leaders who had betrayed the peace process were taken into custody. The final battle was over, but the work was far from done. Kira knew there would be more challenges ahead, but for the first time in a long while she felt a glimmer of hope. As the fleet returned to Earth, the galaxy slowly began to rebuild. Earth's return was no longer a threat. It was a promise of unity, peace, and a better future for all. Kira looked out at the stars, knowing that their journey was just beginning. The galaxy had been saved, but now it was up to everyone to ensure that peace would last.